A Wife's Bitter Reckoning. Chapter 1. My husband, Bennett, and I were New York's golden couple. But our perfect marriage was a lie, childless because of a rare genetic condition he claimed would kill any woman who carried his baby. When his dying father demanded an heir, Bennett proposed a solution: a surrogate. The woman he chose, Aria, was a younger, more vibrant version of me. Suddenly, Bennett was always busy, supporting her through difficult IVF cycles. He missed my birthday. He forgot our anniversary. I tried to believe him until I overheard him at a party. He confessed to his friends that his love for me was a deep connection, but with Aria, it was fire and exhilarating. He was planning a secret wedding with her in Lake Como, at the same villa he'd promised me for our anniversary. He was giving her a wedding, a family, a life, all the things he denied me, using a lie about a deadly genetic condition as his excuse. The betrayal was so complete it felt like a physical shock. When he came home that night, lying about a business trip, I smiled and played the part of the loving wife. He didn't know I'd heard everything. He didn't know that while he was planning his new life, I was already planning my escape. And he certainly didn't know I had just made a call to a service that specialized in one thing: making people disappear. Chapter 1. Kelsey Jensen and Bennett Randolph were the couple everyone in New York envied. They had everything: a sprawling penthouse overlooking Central Park, a name that opened any door, and a love story that started in prep school. They looked perfect. But behind the closed doors of their minimalist, art-filled home, there was a void. A silence. They had no children. It wasn't for lack of trying on Kelsey's part. It was Bennett's refusal. His mother had died giving birth to him. A rare, hereditary genetic condition, he called it. A ticking time bomb he claimed to carry, one that made any pregnancy a death sentence for the woman he loved. "I can't lose you, Kels," he would say, his voice strained, his hand gripping hers tightly. "I won't." And for years, Kelsey had accepted it. She loved him enough to sacrifice her own deep-seated desire for a family. She poured her maternal instincts into her work as an art curator, nurturing artists and their creations. Then came the ultimatum. Bennett's father, the formidable patriarch of the Randolph business empire, was dying. From his hospital bed, surrounded by the scent of antiseptic and old money, he delivered his final command. "I need an heir, Bennett. The Randolph line doesn't end with you. Get it done, or the company goes to your cousin." The pressure changed everything. That night, Bennett came to Kelsey with a proposal. "A surrogate," he said, his voice carefully neutral. "It's the only way." Kelsey, who had long given up hope, felt a flicker of it ignite. "A surrogate? Really?" "Yes," he confirmed. "A purely clinical arrangement. Our embryo, her womb. You'd be the mother in every way that matters. We just bypass the risk to you." He assured her he would handle everything. A week later, he introduced her to Aria Diaz. The resemblance was immediate and unsettling. Aria had the same dark, wavy hair as Kelsey, the same high cheekbones, the same shade of emerald green in her eyes. She was younger, maybe a decade younger, with a raw, unpolished beauty that was a stark contrast to Kelsey's sophisticated grace. "She's perfect, isn't she?" Bennett said, a strange light in his eyes. The agency said her profile was an excellent match. Aria was quiet, almost timid. She kept her eyes down, murmuring her responses. She seemed overwhelmed by the opulence of their apartment, by them. "This is a purely business arrangement, Kelsey," Bennett whispered to her later that night, pulling her close. "She is just a vessel. A means to an end. You and I, we're the parents. This is for us." Kelsey looked at her husband, the man she had loved for more than half her life, and she chose to believe him. She had to. It was the only way to get the family she had always dreamed of. But the lies started almost immediately. The IVF cycles required Bennett to be at the clinic. He started missing dinners, then entire evenings. "Just supporting Aria," he'd say, texting late into the night. "The hormones are making her emotional. The doctors said it's important for the surrogate to feel secure." Kelsey tried to be understanding. She cooked meals and sent them with Bennett. She bought soft blankets and comfortable clothes for Aria, trying to bridge the sterile gap of the arrangement. Her birthday arrived. Bennett had promised a weekend in the Hamptons, just the two of them. He canceled at the last minute. Aria's having a bad reaction to the medication, he said over the phone, his voice rushed. I have to be here. I'm so sorry, Kels. I'll make it up to you. She spent her birthday alone, eating a single slice of cake from the bakery, the silence of the penthouse deafening. Their anniversary was worse. He didn't even call. A text message appeared after midnight. Emergency at the clinic. Don't wait up. Kelsey found herself making excuses for him, both to her friends and to herself. It's for the baby. It's a stressful process. He's just as invested as I am. She clung to the explanations like a lifeline, refusing to see the truth that was fraying the edges of her perfect life. The breaking point was a cold, rainy Tuesday. A taxi ran a red light and slammed into the side of her car. The impact was jarring, a violent shudder that left her dizzy and shaking. Her first instinct was to call Bennett. The phone rang and rang, then clicked to voicemail. Bennett, I've been in an accident, she said, her voice trembling. I'm okay, I think, but my car is a wreck. Can you please come? She waited. An hour passed. Then 2. A kind police officer helped her arrange a tow truck and drove her to the emergency room to get checked out. Her arm was sprained, her body a canvas of burgeoning bruises. She sat in the cold, sterile waiting room, her phone silent in her hand. She called again. Voicemail. And again. Voicemail. She finally took a cab home, the pain in her arm a dull throb compared to the ache in her chest. The apartment was dark and empty. She turned on the lights and saw a half-empty wine glass on the coffee table, a faint smudge of lipstick on the rim. It wasn't her shade. She tried to rationalize it. Maybe a friend of his had stopped by. Maybe he had a meeting. But the seed of doubt, once planted, was now a thorny vine wrapping around her heart. Later that week, Bennett was hosting a small gathering for some business partners and friends at a private club downtown. Kelsey, still nursing her sprained arm and a collection of fading bruises, felt a chill she couldn't shake. She arrived late, delayed by a meeting at the gallery. As she approached the private room, she heard the low murmur of conversation. She paused outside the door, intending to make a quiet entrance. That's when she heard his voice, clear and unburdened, floating out from the room. I'm telling you, I've never felt like this before, Bennett was saying. His tone was light, full of a passion she hadn't heard in years. With Kelsey, it's a deep love, a soul connection. But with Aria, it's fire. It's exhilarating. Kelsey froze, her hand hovering over the doorknob. Her blood ran cold. One of his friends, Mark, sounded hesitant. Are you sure this is a good idea, Bennett? Juggling both? It's going to blow up in your face. It won't, Bennett said, his voice brimming with an arrogance that made Kelsey's stomach turn. Kelsey will have her baby, and she'll be happy. And I'll have Aria. I can give them both everything they want. Kelsey felt the floor tilt beneath her feet. She leaned against the wall, the cool wood a stark contrast to the heat flushing her skin. Then came the final, killing blow. I'm planning a wedding for Aria in Europe after the baby is born, Bennett confessed, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. A secret one. Just us and a few of her friends. I've already put a deposit on a villa in Lake Como. Millions. She deserves it. She deserves everything. The same villa he had promised to take Kelsey to for their 15th anniversary. A wave of nausea washed over her. She stumbled back, knocking a decorative vase off a pedestal in the hallway. It shattered on the marble floor with a deafening crash. The conversation inside stopped. The door flew open, and Bennett stood there, his face a mask of panic when he saw her. Kelsey, what are you doing out here? His friends peered around him, their faces a mixture of pity and alarm. Kelsey straightened up, the shock giving way to an icy calm she didn't know she possessed. She looked at her husband, the man who was planning a secret wedding with her surrogate, and she forced a smile. I just arrived, she said, her voice steady. I was just about to come in. Bennett's friends tried to cover, launching into loud, forced conversation about the stock market. Bennett rushed to her side, his hand on her arm. "Are you okay? You look pale." His touch felt like a brand. She pulled her arm away. "Just tired," she said, her eyes hollow. "Long day." She looked past him, into the room. Is Aria here tonight?" The question was a test. A final, desperate plea for a shred of honesty. Bennett's face tightened. "Aria? Of course not. Why would she be here? She's just the surrogate, Kelsey. A tool. Remember?" He said the word tool with such dismissive ease that it stole the breath from her lungs. This was his love. This was his fire. She nodded slowly. "Right. The tool." She turned, not looking back at the shocked faces of his friends or the frantic concern on his. "I'm not feeling well," she said over her shoulder. "I'm going to head home." She walked out of the club, her steps measured and deliberate. The icy calm was spreading through her veins, freezing the pain, turning it into something hard and sharp. In the cab on the way to the Upper East Side, a notification lit up the tablet Bennett had left in the back seat. It was a text from Aria. "Just landed, baby. The suite is incredible. Can't wait for you to get here and get me out of these clothes." The shopping spree was insane. "Did you really spend that much on me?" Bennett had told her he was going to Boston for a 2-day business trip. Kelsey stared at the message, the words blurring through a film of tears she refused to let fall. He wasn't in Boston. He was on his way to Aria. She didn't go home. She directed the cab to a different address. A sleek, discreet office building in Midtown. The sign on the door was simple: Blackwood Privacy Solutions. She walked in, her back straight, her resolve absolute. The life she knew was over. It was time to erase it.